This is the Infancy Gospel of James, and I'm going to be reading it in the original Greek. This was written by St. James, the first Patriarch of Jerusalem, in the 1st century AD, when he had fled and was hiding out for a little bit. And for some reason or another, because this is not part of the Bible, it has led many Protestant scholars to doubt the validity of it. But the main reason that Protestant scholars doubt the validity of the Infancy Gospel of James is because the basis of all of Protestant Christianity is that Mary is not an ever virgin, okay? The Lady Theotokos, an ever virgin Mary, is, according to heretical sects of non-Catholic Christianity, non-Orthodox Christianity, the Virgin Lady Theotokos did not remain a virgin after she gave birth to Christ. And so because of that premise, by default, all Protestant denominations say that this is illegitimate. If you take into consideration the fact that this claims to be written by James, and there are no church fathers who clearly deny this as a false record of early Christianity, it's led many people to question when exactly it was written, because at the very latest, it was in the Council of Ephesus in the year 431 that this was used in the council, confirming the authenticity of Christ being not only begotten from Mary, who was the mother of Christ, but the mother of God. And so this was used in the council, and it's led some people to say, well, maybe it was just written on the fly in the 5th century. Other people have dated it as early as the 2nd century, because they say, oh, well, maybe it was written in the 2nd century as this fake book, and then it kind of crept into the church and nobody realized it. The problem with either of those premises is that if it had crept into the church in the 2nd century and it was a fake gospel, Irenaeus would have mentioned it. Many other people would have mentioned it. Tertullian would have mentioned it. Origen would have mentioned it. All of the church fathers would have claimed either the authenticity or potentially the inauthenticity of this text. And so what I would propose as a more valid hypothesis, perhaps the original hypothesis, the Orthodox position, if you would be that this did not creep into the church in the 2nd century. Otherwise, by default, a church father such as Irenaeus would have mentioned it. And it was not written on the fly. Otherwise, all of the bishops would not have unanimously accepted it. It didn't creep into the church because if you go prior to 431, all churches before the year 431 accepted the council, except the Assyrian Orthodox Church, and the Assyrian Orthodox Church still does venerate the Mother of God, Mary. It's only that they would call her the birth giver of Christ instead of the birth giver of God, Lady Theotokos. So that being said, even the part of the church at that time that did not accept the Council of Ephesus and left, they still recognized the authenticity of veneration of the Mother of God. They still recognized that Mary was an ever virgin. The only thing they do not recognize is, and again, this might be an oversimplification, but they do not recognize the term of Mary being the Mother of God. So, without further ado, the original claim is that James, the brother of Christ, the first Patriarch of Jerusalem, wrote this. And I would like to support that claim by saying that the most logical explanation for where this comes from is that it was written by St. James, the first Patriarch of Jerusalem. And the reason that it was not in the Bible is because the Bible is not a full library of everything that the church had on record. There were many archives outside of what ended up getting turned into the Bible. Of course, there were some fake gospels, like the Gnostics who wrote the fake gospels, but there was also church records. For instance, the gospel according to Nicodemus, otherwise known as the Acts of the Apostles. The Acts of Pilate. This testimony was translated into Greek in 425, and it was from a Hebrew source. This also is, like the Infancy Gospel of James, unmentioned up until the year 400 and something. This means only that some of these writings were not universally spread throughout all of Christianity in the 400s. Some of them were kept fairly localized. And so, for instance, the Infancy Gospel of James would have been kept fairly localized, probably in Pila, Jordan, and other Christian dioceses or sub-diocese cities where the Orthodox Church was. This testimony would have been written by the Patriarch and kept in a very small circle of bishops and patriarchs, and not everybody would have been reading it. Same thing with the Gospel according to Nicodemus, that it was kept in Hebrew in the Archdiocese of, it would have been the Jerusalem Archdiocese that moved to Pila, or to Caesarea, and the Christians moved to Pila after the drama that happened and everything. So, without further ado, there is evidence that this does go back to the first century. It has to be taken into consideration that after James wrote it, there was persecution. James' brother took over the archdiocese. He lived to 120. Jude, the last ethnic Jewish patriarch of Jerusalem, Judah, the great-grandson of St. Jude, he also would have had this testimony. And even though we might say it's not mentioned in the early church fathers, there are testimonies by Eusebius and also testimonies from Clement of Alexandria talking about the family of Christ and their traditions. And so it's very likely that this is part of the records that the family of Christ kept. So without further ado, this is the Infancy Gospel of James, reading from the original Greek. Kephalion Ena. En tes historias ton dodeka philon to Yisrael. In Joachim, Plusio Svodra, ke prosaphora Kyrio Tadorav to Dipla Lagon Eneafto. Estato tis perisiasmu, apantitola o, ke totis aphesios Kyrio totheo is elismos ami. Ingizin de I imera Kyrio, I magali. Ke prosapheron I Israel tadora efton. Ke esti kate nopion aftu ruviel legon. Uk esti si proto anankin tadora su. Kathoti sperma ukapisas ento Israel. Ke elipithi Joachim svodra. Ke apilthen istin though the kaphilon. To the ulegon and I have to theasome tin though the kaphilon to Israel iagomonos ukapis sperma and to Israel kai irevnise keevren pandas to stikeus oti sperma and to Israel and astisen kai amnisti to patriarchu Avraham Otienti escati aftu imera edoken afto Kyrios os ion tonisak. Ke elipithi Joachim svodra, ke uk efani tigine kisu, signomi, tigine kiaftu, Alla edokene is tin eramon ke epixentin skinin of two aki. Ke anistav sen tesseraconi meris ke nictas tesseracona. Leganen afto Joachim, katavisume, ute epi vroton, ute epipoton, eos episkepsiteme, kyrios of the osmu. Ke asta mu, efk, vromata, ke potama. Kefalion, δεύτερα. Either gini aftu ana, theothrinus ethrini, ke theo copetus ecoptito, lagusa copso me tin criosinimu, ke copsime tin ateknianmu. Ingisen the I mercuriu I magali. Ke ipen euthini I peviski aftis prosaftin. Eos pota tapinis tim psichinsu. Izu ingis I mercuriu I magali, ke uk axistisi panthin. Allah lavatuto to kafalovesmion, ke edhokenmi I kyria tu ergu. Ke uk existimi visis to kathoti peviski imi. Si. Ke karaktira eki vasilikon. Ke ipen ana. Apostithi apamu. Ke tafta uk epise. Ke kyrios with the os etan pino senmis fothra. Mipos tuto panurgos adoken si. Ke ilthas kino niste me ti amortiasu. Ke ipen euthini I peviski. Ti orasime se, kathoti uk ikusas tis phonismu. Epeklisen kyrios othos tin mitran su, tu midunasi karpon en Israel. Ke lepithi anas vodra, ke periulato ta matyav tis, ta penthika. Ke apes mixato tin kafalinav tis, ke anavisato tamatyav tis, ta nymphika. Ke perioron enatin katevi iston paradison of tis tu peripatisa. Ke even thafni thean, ke akathisen ipokato of tis. Ke meta to anapapsista elitanavsen ton thespotin legusa. Otha os ton pateronmu, evlogison me, ke epakuson tis theisiosmu, kathos evlogisas tin mitera saran, ke adakas afti ion ton yisak, kefalion trita. Ke in tekinen ana is uranon. Ke even kalian stru thon en ti daphnidea. Ke eftheos epis en trinon ana in afti legusa. Ime tis me agenisen pia the mitra exefisenme oti ego katara egenithin enopion ton ion Israel. Ke oni vistin ke amiktir isan ke exori sanme ekneu kirio tuta umu. Ima tini omiothin ego. Uk omiothin ego tis petinis tu uranu. Oti ke ta petina tu uranu goni maestin en opionsu kyria. Ima tini omiothinago. Uk omiothinago tis alogis zois. Otike ta aloga zoa go ni ma goni mai sinopionsu Kyria. Imi tini omiothinago. Uk emothinago tis theories tis gis. Otike ta theoria tis gis goni mai sinopionsu Kyria. Imi tini omiothinago. Uk omiothinago tis either sin tutis, otk ta either tatafta go ni mai sinopion sukiria. Imi tini omiothinago. Uk omiothinago ti gitafti, otk gi prosferi tus carpusaftis kata keron keset evlogi kiria. Kephalion tetorton. Keizu angelos kyriou epestilegon ana epikusen kyrios othaos tis deisiosu silipsi ke genesis ke lalithisete to spermasu and oliti ekomeni ke ipen ana Z Kyrios othaos ean geniso ita arstena ita thelia prosaxov to thoron Kyrio to theomu ke esta liturgon avto passus tas imeres tis zois of tu ke idu ilthon angeli theo legondas of ti idu Joachim oanirsu erkete meta ton pimnion of tu angelos gar kyrio katevi pros Joachim legon Joachim apicus en kyrios of the os tis theiseosu katavithi endavthen idu iginisu ana en gastri ilithen Ke Theos Katevi Joachim Ke Ekalasen tus Pimenas legon of tis Feretemi Otha Theka Amnadas Aspilus Ke Amomus Ke Asunda E Theka Amnadas Kyriototha O Ke Ferete Mi Dodaka Moscus Apolus, ke asonda idodika moski tis evrasin, ke ti gerusia, ke ekaton hi marus, ke asonda I ekaton himari pandi tolao. Ke idu ihi Joachim metaton pimenion of tu, ke esti ana prosti pili ke even Joachim erkomenon metaton pimnion of tu ke this adramen ke ek remesen of teen iston trachilon of tu ana lagusa nin either otikirius of the os evlogisen misfodra idu gar ihira uketi hira ke iateknos idu in gastri ilifa ke anapamsato Joachim ti proti imera in to eco of tu Kephalion penda ti the apavrion efferentadora of tu legon and of to eon kyrios of the os elastimi to petalon tu ureon phaneron mi piisi ke pros efferen tadora of tu Joachim ke pros iche to petalo tu ureos eos epevi epito thesiasterion Kyrio. Ke uk even amartianen afto. Ke ipen Joachim, nin either oti Kyrios of the os elasti me, ke afiken mi pandata amartimamu. Ke katevi ektuna u Kyrio, the keomenos ke iki and toiko aftu. Ke aplirothesan iminas aftis. To the anatomini again nisen ana ke ipen ti mea. Ti again, he said. Ke ipen imea thelion. Ke ipen ana emaga linthi psyche mu teen imeran taftin. Ke aneklinen aftis. Plirothi son the tone imeron apes mixato iana tis afethro of tis ke eloke muston ti pedi ke onomasen to onum of tis Maria. Kephalion exi. Imera the ke imera ekrateundo ipes. Genomenis de aftis examinu, assisen aftin imiter aftis chame. Via pirasa istete, ke epta vimata peripatis ilthen is ton kolpon tis mitros of tis, ke an nirpasen aftin imiter of tis legusa, z kyrios of the osmu, u mi peripatisis, en tigi tafti, el se apaxo, ento nao kyriou. Ke apis en giasma, ento ketoni aftis, ke pan kinon, ke akatharton, uk ia, the erkeste the aftis, ke ekalisen tas thigateras ton evreon tas amiandus, ke the aplanon aftin. Genetu the protos, eniaftos tipedi, ke et pis en Joachim, Zochin Magalin, ke ekalas et tus archieres, ke tus iris, ke tus grammatis, ke tin gerusian, ke olan ton laon to Israel, ke pros inacantin peda Joachim, tis Yerevsin, tis Yerevsin ke evlogisan of teen lagondas. Oth the os ton patero imon evlogisen teen peda taftin, ke those of t onomaston eonion and passes tes genias. Ke ipen opes, o ke ipen pas olaos, genito amin. Ke pros inacan aftin tis archirevsin, ke ev logisan aftin lagondas, othaos ton ipsomaton epivlepson epitin peda taftin, ke ev logison aftin escatin evlogion itis via zochin ukechi. Ke anirpasen meter of tis into agiasmati to ketonos ke adoke maston tpv. Ke apis en asma kirio to theo analegusa, also odin agion Kyrio Tothaomu oti ep skepsitome ke ophilen ap emu onidis mon tonic throne mu. Ke eloken mi Kyrios of the osmu carpone dikiosinis avtu. Mo nusion polyplasion enopion of two. Tis angali tcis reveal oti anathilazi acusata though the kefiles to Israel oti thilazi ke an epapsen of teen and to kitoni to agiasmatos ke exilthen ke the Koine of tis telestendos the to deepnu katevisan Ephraenomini ke doxasan tontheon Yisrael. Kephalion epton. T the pedi prosatithendo eminus of tis, egeneto the atis, ipes, keipen Joachim, anaxamen of teen, en o, kiriu opos apodhomen teen apangelion, in epingilamatha, mipos apostili o despotis, f imas, ke pros thekon este todoronimon, ke ipen ana minamen to tritonatos, opos mi zitisi patera imitera. Ke ipen Joachim anaminamen. Egeneto the triatis ipes, ke ipen Joachim kalasomen tas thigateras ton ivreon, tas amiandus, ke lavetus san ana lampada, ke astrasan keomene, ina mi strafi ipes is taopiso, ke ek malotis thisite icardia of tis ek neukiriu, ke apisan utos eos anevisan en neukiriu, ke adexato aftin o ireps, ke philisas aftin evlogisen ke ipen, emegalinen Kyrios at the os to onomasu and passes tesgenias. PC ep escaton tonimeron phanerosi Kyrios to litron tcis Yisrael ke ekathi sen of teen epitritu vath mu to thesius diriu ke evela Kyrios at the os karin ep of teen. Ke kate koreve tis posin of tis. Ke igapisen of teen pas ekos Yisrael. Okay, and I think I'm going to do this in different sections. So that was chapters 1 through 7. And then I'm going to do a few more chapters until we get to the end, which is chapter 25. So anywhere from, 4 or we probably won't need 5, maybe 3 or 4 half-hour clips or somewhere in that proximity. And then we should be able to get through all of the Infancy, Gospel of James. And as a little reminder, this is for sight reading purposes. I have never read this before. I read it in English several months ago and a few years ago. This is solely for the practice of sight reading. And if you're watching it saying, well, how would this ever help me do anything productive if I'm hearing somebody else sight read it? There's 2 options. Either go sight read it yourself or find the text online, whether in Greek, and see if you can listen to the Greek while I read it, or find it in English and read along the English while you listen to me with the Greek. Either of those ways would be a productive way of listening, or see if you can understand my reading without actually looking at any text. So there's actually 3 ways that I thought it could help, and a 4th way. 1, listen to me reading and read along in Greek. Check some of my mistakes. 2, read along in English and listen to me read it in Greek. 3, that would be actually, what would it be? Just listen to it. Just listen to it. Don't read along at all. Just listen to it. And then the 4th one would be just encouragement for you then to go out and read it yourself. If you see me reading it, start reading it, practice reading, go out and read yourself. So thank you very much. So there are 4 ways that you can utilize this video. And a 5th way is to say, I have no use for it whatsoever, and then you should change the channel. See you later, and Yasu.